Hello, I'm Pastor Marie-Louise Nangwa from Douala in Cameroon. Welcome to Let's Master Spiritual Law. We continue with the seventh part of our thematic spiritual status and its impact in the enjoyment of God's promises. In the last video, we began the study of the effect of the decision of the spiritual world on relational life. We have long talked about the problem of rejection. Today we will see what is a charm or bewitchment. A bewitchment is the opposite effect of rejection. Charm is a loving bewitchment which consists in acting upon the feeling of someone in order to compel him to love what in normal time he will not love. It is an intense and irresistible sentimental attachment experienced by one person for another under the effect of an enchantment. The victim finds himself embarking on a story whose memory will disgust him when the effect of charm will disappear. It also happens that some employees bewitch their bosses or their superior with an aim of making them to turn a blind eye to their mistakes and especially to grant them all the favors they request. The third and final type of spiritual world effect on relational life that I want to evoke now is the curse to celibacy. It is written in Jeremiah 16 verse 2, "You shall not take a wife." This word of the Lord was addressed to the prophet Jeremiah. Every human being can freely choose to marry or to not marry. But we can notice that in this case, Jeremiah had not been consulted. He was undergoing this decision. Nowadays, we see men over the age of 50 who have never managed to marry, although they have seriously desired to do so, to take care of a woman, when we speak in the context of Africa, or to organize large wedding ceremonies. No relationship with a woman could result in marriage. When some women make an assessment of their lives, they realize that they have had better suitors in the world, sometimes even engaged, but each time, at the last minute, when the wedding ceremony were already scheduled and the card already distributed, everything was cancelled. When such a scenario recurs 3, 4 times in the course of the life of the same person, it is not a coincidence. It is what the Bible calls a condemnation. Other women notice that they have spent their entire life moving from consensual union to consensual union, that curiously enough, whenever the partner proposed to formalize their union, they reject this idea and decided to leave them. The spirit that prevents them from getting married merely aroused a curse of rejection between their partner and them, and the stage was set. When the spirit in charge of watching over a condemnation to celibacy does not succeed in preventing his victim from getting married, he will do his utmost to set the record straight. We have seen sisters who, after having been delivered from a curse to celibacy, have stopped praying, believing that all is over. Unfortunately, they are caught up with the same condemnation a few months or years later, and the union that was contracted is destroyed. For the same reason, some men have had to divorce their spouses 4 or 5 times against their will. The inability to marry or remain married can also sometimes be explained by the existence of a spiritual union between the victim and a jealous spirit. This spiritual husband or wife have sometimes exercised reprisal on the person their spouse planned to marry or had got married to. Some people find themselves experiencing night oppression and sometimes even physical death. Oh yes, I really mean physical death. We have just seen all the fiancés or the successive husband of some young women die. These are real life stories. Some people will tell me that this is just a coincidence. But for me, the explanation is spiritual. And the Bible presents us a similar case. In Mark 12, verse 19 to 23. Teacher, Moses wrote to us that if a man's brother dies and leaves his wife behind and leaves no children, his brother should take his wife and raise up offspring for his brother. Now there were 7 brothers. The first took a wife and died. He left no offspring. And the second took her and he died. Nor did he leave any offspring. And the third likewise. So the 7 had her and left no offspring. Last of all, the woman died also. Therefore, in the resurrection, when they rise, whose wife will she be? For all 7 had her as wife. This woman likely had a violent spiritual husband who punished by death all those who dared to marry her and who did not allow her to have a child either. We will now move to effect of decision of the spiritual world on the work of the hand. When one person wants to rejoice another's hurt or to severely castigate him, he will tend to act in the area of his life that he cares more about. What is the domain of a man's life that is most important to him? For me, is the work of his hands. This is why, after the original sin, one of the curses that God pronounced against man is mentioned in Genesis 3, verse 17 to 19. Cursed is the ground for your sake. In turn you shall eat of it all the day of your life. Both thorns and thistles it shall bring forth for you, and you shall eat the herb of the field. In the sweat of your face you shall eat bread. Since then, following this decision, and this all over the world, man had to work hard to be able to feed his family. In places where hunting and gathering did not produce enough, he had to become a farmer. Depending on the whims of nature, the hardness of certain climates, harvest could be good or bad. This is also the reason why, in his plan of redemption proposed to man through the covenant, the first promise of God referred to the blessing of the work of the hands. It is written in Deuteronomy 28, verse 3. Blessed shall you be in the city, and blessed shall you be in the field. On what do we spend most of our time when we are in a city? On work. What does a man do in a farm? He is devoted to rural work such as plowing, sowing, plant, or harvesting. In the modern world, when a man has a good income, when the labor of his hand is blessed, he can have a good accommodation, quality medical care, never stay, and satisfy even the need or another kind such as holiday, gift. Since he is rich, generally he will make friends, even if only with those who expect something from him. We just notice that what is essential to classify a man among the happy or the unfortunate is the professional success or the possession of material wealth. The world of darkness also know it and concentrates its attacks in these fields. We have seen many lose faith in Christ if they have to go through financial difficulties. We have seen many others selling their souls to the devil and adhering to magical circle only to prosper in their activities. Just as Satan suggested to Jesus himself, the foundation of recruitment into mystical society is the promise of ascension in the social ladder or success in one's activities. In response to this, many churches have felt obliged to insist on the material prosperity reserved for those who believe in Christ, when it is not the foundation of the covenant, it is only a detail. The strategy of the world of darkness to prevent a person from enjoying the work of his hand are many and correspond to the various purposes summarized in Hosea 8 verse 7. The stag has no bird, it shall never produce meal. If it should produce, the alliance will swallow it up. The first objective may be to prevent this person from having an stag or standing corn, which can be achieved by depriving him or her of a farm or by blocking the exploitation of that farm. The second objective states that even if the victim succeed in obtaining an ear of corn, it should not give flour or meal. The third objective stipulates that in the event of obtaining meal, in spite of the previous obstacles, foreigner will seize it. Do not hesitate to subscribe to the channel, Came of God channel, in order to receive all the next video. Just press the red button, subscribe, below the video. The first strategy of the world of darkness to prevent a man from enjoying the work of his hand correspond to the condemnation to not to work. It simply consists of not to allow the victim to have an activity, therefore rendering him unemployed. Even if a person is endowed with the sort of skill in a sector where the job offer is greater than the demand, he will still remain unemployed, and we should ask question. Even sooner he will be recruited, he will be dismissed without any good reason. One is obliged to think that the wicked have decided to close the path of unemployment to him, as is written in Lamentation 3 verse 9. He has blocked my way with hewn stones. He has made my path crooked. Imagine for a moment that the victim is under a curse to rejection, making him an object of reproach in the eyes of any jury, of any person in charge of recruiting in the organization where he is applying for a job. Do you think he will be retained? Do you think he will be recruited? Some people, when considering life after a long series of failures, feel as blocked and foresee no emergency exit. They can then also express themselves as Jeremiah in Lamentation 3 verse 9. He has blocked my way with his stone. He has made my path crooked. The second strategy of the work of darkness to prevent a man from enjoying the work of his hand corresponds to the condemnation to have an unproductive activity. This strategy consists of preventing the activity from producing. Indeed, we all know that it's not enough to have an activity, but this should prosper and also allow us to make ends meet. In the book of Deuteronomy 28, God promises the following curses to those of his children who will break the covenant. Deuteronomy 28, verse 28 to 42. You shall carry much seed out of the field, but gather little in, for the locusts shall consume it. You shall plant vineyard and tend them, but you shall neither drink of the wine nor gather the grapes, for the worms shall eat them. You shall have olive trees throughout all your territory, but you shall not anoint yourself with the oil, for your olives shall drop off. You shall beget sons and daughters, but shall not be yours, for they shall go into captivity. Locusts shall consume all your trees and the produce of your land. Remember that the wicked do not need a person to break a covenant to utter such curses against his life. The Bible says they form wicked design, so takes such resolution in spite of the law. Preventing the activity from bearing fruit or prospering can also result in the following example of curses. We can read in Job 31 verse 8. Let my offspring be rooted out. What can be harvested from a plantation whose trees have been uprooted at the offspring stage? Nothing at all. It is also written in Job 15 verse 33. He shall shake off his unripe grape as the vine, and shall cast off his flower as the olive. Imagine that you are acquiring a piece of land, that you grow vines and you maintain this plantation until it produces fruit. If an evil person comes to cut all the grapes produced by your vine when they have not matured and are still green, what quantity of wine can you get from such a vineyard? Nothing at all. And if instead of the vine you have planted olive tree on your land, and that the same wicked person decided to bring down all the flowers of your olive tree. For your information, it is the flower of the olive tree which, after having been fertilized, give way to fruit that will be harvested later to produce oil. What quantity of oil can be produced from my olive tree whose flower has been dropped? Nothing at all. Well, if the wicked assimilate your life with a vine strap of its still green fruit, or an olive tree whose flower has been dropped, it simply means that you will never get the benefit of your work. It is a curse. The third strategy of the work of darkness to prevent a man from enjoying the work of his hand corresponds to the condemnation not to enjoy the product of one's labor. This strategy consists of letting the person work, but to make sure that he or she never enjoys the product of this activity. Thus, the owner is prevented from enjoying the fruit produced. This is the strategy of invasion or devastation. The people of Israel, though in Canaan, experienced this strategy of impoverishment through invasion orchestrated by the enemy tribe as described in Judges 6 verse 3 to 5. Judges 6 verse 3 to 5. So it was, whenever Israel had sown, Midianites would come up, also Amalekites and the people of the east would come up against them. Then they would encamp against them and destroy the produce of the earth as far as Gaza, and leave no sustenance for Israel, neither sheep, nor ox, nor donkey. For they will come up with their livestock and their tents, coming in as numerous as locusts. Both they and their camel were without number, and they would enter the land to destroy it. Nowadays, the spiritual people of Israel, Christians, can see their activities undergo such attacks from the spiritual world. In fact, it is written in Haggai 1 verse 9, "You looked for much, but indeed it came too little. And when you brought it home, I blew it away." When a person works too much, spends a lot, but earns less, the performance of his work is considered poor, not good at all. We discovered through Haggai 1 verse 9 that spiritual world can affect the performance of our work. Spiritual world can affect our productivity. In fact, God declares to have blown on the incomes, on the harvest. God is a spirit. He's from the invisible world. In the physical life, this type of invasion can take the form of a fire of supernatural origin, instrumental chiefs, and all the merchandise that was stocked, which had to be sold, disappears. The blow-up invasion of an employee may be due to illnesses of children or spouses, requiring enormous expenses, and only arising when the wage is near, or when he has just taken a loan. This employee will go from depth to depth and will even have difficulties in having enough to eat. Other variants of the strategy to prevent the enjoyment of the result of the work of our hands appear in the following curses. The first variant is taken from the book of Job 31 verse 8. "Then let me sow and another eat." Here, the production is not destroyed, but it benefits someone else. The second variant is taken from Haggai 1 verse 6. "And he who earns wages to put into a bag with holes, a pierced bag." So the wicked can decide that the bags and hand of a person be pierced. They can decide that the hand of the person should have holes. This is one of the most well-known curses in Africa, summarized by the phrase, "He have holes on his hands." I want you to know that it corresponds to a curse in the Bible. It is written in Haggai 1 verse 6. The victim of such a curse will earn billions. He will make no good use of it. Do not hesitate to subscribe to the channel, Came of God channel, in order to receive all the next video. Just press the red button subscribe below the video. See you next week, God willing, and God bless you.